Hey guys, and welcome to an overview of Warframe. I recently got into playing Warframe thanks to the recommendation of a couple friends of mine. Initially I thought that I wouldn't really enjoy Warframe that much, but as I started to play it, I started to realize that Warframe was actually a bit of fun. And, well, that's not exactly the thing that should tell you to go play this game. Of course, this being an overview, it's a review kind of, but not at the same time. You could probably gather from looking at just the visuals, but Warframe is a third-person shooter style of game, and it's actually pretty fun in how it does things. Unlike a lot of more modern third-person shooters though, this game doesn't exactly have a cover mechanic. I've heard from a few people that they're actually trying to work on a cover mechanic for the game. However, I don't think the game really needs it, as there's a lot more strategical involvement to it that'll allow you to play and have a lot of fun without having to use cover every single moment of your time. What the game does have though is a parkour system, which allows you to do things like run up walls, run along walls, jump up onto things, do a bunch of flips, dashes, slides, etc. It's very fun in a good sense, but it's also extremely buggy, and it's not always useful. I say buggy as in, well, just watch this clip. That's my first real critique of the game, is the parkour mechanic needs some bug fixing. Now, of course, that being said, this isn't a finished game. This is technically an open beta. So, really, this overview is exactly that, an overview of what the current state of the game is, which is in February of 2014, where I think the game is shining, but also where the game could use some improvements. So with that being said, it's not going to be like a normal Collector Reviews where the game will be given a final rating at the end of it. This is basically just going to be me overviewing and whether or not I would recommend trying out the game to you guys. So with that being said, here's the start of my overview. First and foremost, I do find Warframe to be fun. I have put in about 10 hours into the game at this point, and each of those 10 hours has been a fairly enjoyable experience. A few minor gripes here and there with the frame rate, but most of that has to do with my computer not being up to par with modern standards, so really that's not a complaint to the actual designers of the games, but more to myself to upgrade my computer. With that being said, however, when the game does run smooth, it runs very smooth. There are absolutely no frame issues inherent within the game unless your computer itself is not up to snuff, so that's good to start with. My first real complaint is that the tutorial is bare bones as all hell. It teaches you almost nothing about the game mechanics, and pretty much teaches you how to move, change your weapons, and fire, which is something inherent to almost any shooter of any kind. So, with that being said, why would you make a tutorial level just to teach us the bare bones stuff? There's definitely a need for improvement on the tutorial to teach you more about the game, rather than just, you know, the basics of the basics. There are way more mechanics in the game than the tutorial teaches you. So much so that you'll end up learning them just randomly by playing the game. You can get by with the bare bones for sure on the first couple of levels, but eventually you'll need to know how to do things like use your Warframe's abilities, or how to get new weapons in general. All things considered, I don't want to go into too much detail because this is just an overview and I don't want this to be too long. So basically, if you're going to find out all the new things that the tutorial doesn't tell you, you're going to have to play the game for yourself or look up a video of it. That's not this one. Just saying. The gameplay of Warframe is pretty fun. You go around doing various missions that the game has set up for you in various locations throughout the solar system, and as you go through, you unlock new locations which allow you to do new missions in new parts of the solar system, blah blah blah, repetitive nature of speaking. Now all this might sound fine and dandy, but then you have to remember this is a free-to-play game, so it's not like it's going to give you a fair arc all the time. Admittedly, it doesn't give you a fair arc, and you will end up having to grind a lot, but I find the game doesn't make grinding monotonous and boring. So that's a good thing for Warframe. That being said, you're not going to just grind for levels. You're going to also grind for materials, and you're also going to grind specific missions to get specific items, to get new blueprints, to get new weapons, etc, etc. You're going to be doing a lot of grinding in this game. That is inherent of the game itself, and again, that is going to turn off some people from playing it. Warframe also doesn't have that big of a variety of actual mission types. Most of the stuff that it does have is stuff you've seen before and, you know, has been done in other games several times over. Like Infestation is another zombie mod, Capture is exactly what it sounds like, you gotta capture a VIP, all of it's stuff you've seen in some other game some other time. That being said, that doesn't mean that the game isn't fun because it's all game modes you've seen before. Though I really wish they had more game modes in it, because once they get to the second system, which is Venus, there's almost no new game modes beyond that, and I feel that's kind of really disappointing because I would have loved to see like a new game mode or two added with each new system you go to. This is not to say, of course, that Warframe doesn't have enough game modes. No, it has enough game modes to keep a fresh variety of things you can do while playing through any normal play session. I really would like to see something a little more unique coming from the developers of Warframe. I mean, we are in space and we are going through the solar system. Maybe something like solar system specific type of missions rather than just having the same type of mission with different enemies in it. You know, a fresh new type of game mode to fit with the theme of being in space all over the place. What's good about the combat though is there are plenty of different warframes and plenty of different things you can do within an inherent combat situation that you can not get bored, but the initial grind to get one of these new warframes that allows you to do that is quite long. I still have yet to acquire a new warframe after 10 hours, and I doubt I will, considering I don't know how long it's going to take me to find a blueprint or whatever which will allow me to get a new warframe. That's also something I should go over now, the whole free-to-play model and how the whole system works. Warframe does kind of have this free-to-play model whereas you do hit a paywall and aren't able to keep going on until you like buy or level up particularly, which buying helps you level up and whatnot. But the thing with Warframe is you can go back to visit other missions repeatedly and grind up and grind up and grind up, which again, the gameplay allows for that in my opinion because I find it to be very fun. What you can also do is queue up with some people who are, say, 4 levels ahead of you or 5 levels ahead of you, who have great powers on their warframes and whatnot, and they can just blast through everything, and then you can get all the items there and all the experience from there as well, while still being able to survive and deal your own damage. You won't be doing as much as them, and you won't feel as useful, but it can still be fun. Nothing that it's in the game that's useful only for combat situations like guns or warframes are only available via purchasing of real-life money, which turns into platinum for this game. Everything can be acquired via grinding, finding blueprints, and building the weapons and warframes themselves, which is good, because if there were weapons that were clearly better than the rest that were money only, I'd kind of have a problem with that. But as I've mentioned several times now, there is a big grind to get all of these things. It can be still fun as an experience because the game is fun itself, but, you know, you might be turned off by the excessive amount of grinding that will be needed to get you in one item sometimes. Luckily to the game's credit, the co-op mode works very well, and it does function off a host system rather than the server system, but even still, I hardly experience much, if any, lag simply because of the fact that the regions are located between NA West, NA East, etc, etc. So I'm always playing with people who are like very good ping to me, or at least decent ping to me, rather than somebody who's in France and I can't really connect to them and have like 4 million ping because holy crap. But again, the few times that I have had lag, it's been noticeable but not unbearable, so that's good. If I switch my region to NA East, I might have a different issue with that, but the netcode for the region that you're in should be perfectly fine. By watching the video, you should have gotten an idea by now as to how the game actually plays out. It's very fast-paced, it's fun, and while the swords do fall off in usefulness as you continue to go on, it's still great to just run around and swing your sword trying to kill this one person for just no apparent reason besides swords! As you go on through the systems, you'll find new enemies to face rather than the same ones over and over again, which is good, because if the game didn't have a variety of enemies, you'd be facing the same person over and over again, and then it might start to get boring. Though I am fairly certain that once you get to a certain point, no new enemy types will start appearing, so then it might start to get a little bit stale. But by then, you've already played quite a bit of time because you've been grinding the whole time. So it might be irrelevant to you by then whether or not the enemies are new or not. All in all, I at least recommend you try Warframe. You're gonna have to learn things yourself because of the fact that the tutorial is so bare bones. The grinding will turn some people off, but all in all, the gameplay is fun and they can make the grinding easy to do and not monotonous and tedious, and for the most part, the game functions completely solidly, with the exception of the parkour system being buggy right now. Warframe gets my overview recommendation of try it. Maybe you want to spend some money on it in the long run, maybe you think that you don't want to play it in the long run, maybe you think you can do all the grinding that would be necessary to have the most fun with the game, to get every last mission in the solar system done. It all depends up to the person. Personally, I think I'm going to end up at least getting through all the missions in the solar system by some point. That being said, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video was helpful in understanding what Warframe is and whether or not you would like to play it or not. And, you know, see you guys later. Blah, blah, blah.